I'm just very, very briefly going to describe what annuities are before we get to the crux of the discussion, which is how your behavioral patterns have a huge impact on your pension and the net replacement ratio. All right, so most of us do know what annuities are. Just to make sure that we're all together, it's a series of payments that is bought by a single lump sum. I guess if I say you save your retirement funds and then you get a pension, that's an annuity. And the features, annuities do have some flexibility, joint life, you can have a guarantee period, escalation. I don't want to dwell on these because this is not what is exciting. The longevity aspect of annuities comes with the fact that when we live too long, if we live too long, there's always a risk of outliving benefits. But annuities is a product that kind of eliminates that longevity risk. And when you talk net replacement ratios, it was said today, and I'll just reiterate, we don't want a situation where we have very low money and live for a very long time, right? That's not desirable. So let's just quickly have a look at Botswana's life expectancy and how it's changed over time. So you see, overall it's growing, but we kind of took a dip in the 80s. This is when AIDS was introduced into the country. And then somewhere around 2005, we had ARVs, sorry, not 2005, in the early 2000s, ARVs came and kind of reversed the decline in mortality that we're seeing because of the AIDS impact. And when you compare Botswana's life expectancy with the rest of the world, we'll start with Africa first. Okay, so there's Botswana, we spoke about it. Now, sub-Saharan Africa, I just put it underneath. It also has an upward trend. And at the point at which Botswana's life expectancy went down, you'd see a slowdown in growth there. Okay, that's fine. North Africa, these are a lot of your Arab countries, your Muslim nations, Morocco, have a much higher life expectancy. Kenya, somewhere following like us. And Nigeria, interestingly, is like down there. I don't know why I picked on them, but interestingly, they have the UN said they have the third lowest life expectancy in the world. Now, when you compare Botswana with the rest of the world, this is what we see. When I say rest of the world, I mean outside of Africa. There we are at the bottom. Our life expectancy is lower than the world average, and you have Japan over there, right? Life expectancy 84 years. Please remember Japan. I'm going to come back to Japan in a minute. But pretty much, regardless of whichever countries you see, the one trend is over time, people are living longer and longer and longer, all right? And that's going to be a very important feature that I get to in a bit. Okay, cool. Now, net replacement ratio, what is that? It's your pension over your final salary. That's really all it is. But the reason why it's important is because, amongst other things, of what we're going to get into about developing a pension plan or preparing your retirement plan, you can tell a lot about a country's social systems, the fiscal implications. There's a lot you can draw into it, and I'm not going to get into those now. I want to talk about your pension plan, okay, or our pension plan. And first, I want to just delve into the world stats. I've put the world average NRR, net replacement ratio, and European Union, and now I've put other countries. First, let's look at our neighbors right there at the bottom, South Africa. They're at 16%. Okay, now let's understand what 16% means. It means if you're earning 10,000 today and you retire tomorrow, you're earning 1,600. Yeah, that's 16%. It means if you're earning 30,000 today and you retire tomorrow, that 30,000 becomes 4.8. It means if you're earning 50, you go to 8. Not very nice numbers, right? But it's important that you understand that this is an average. Not everybody gets this, but these are the stats that many South Africans are faced with. Great Britain have the lowest NRR of any developed country, and it's pretty remarkable that they're there. And then there's Japan, who have the longest life expectancy, but an NRR of developed country, right? Anyway, so we just look at United States of America, less than the world average. I found that pretty interesting. And then you have the powerhouse countries of Luxembourg, Italy, India that are in the 90s. Now, this is where I want us to say, why is it that we have people or countries that have such high average net replacement ratios, and you have others very low? What is it? Is it the country's pension system? Is it the individuals? Is it a cultural thing? Is it, I mean, what is it? And these are some of the things that we can explore. So let's give an example. Let's take a 65-year-old lady, all right? In that case, the number for a 65-year-old lady would be 157. If they had pension proceeds or retirement funds of 1 million, how much do you think a 65-year-old lady with 1 million lump sum, the pension would be? What's your gut feel? Okay, no. 5,000? Okay, not bad. So if you take the 1 million and you divide it by 157, you get an estimate of 6,300 per month. So I've run these numbers across various regions, across ours in South Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, even world, and it's fairly a very good estimate to give you an idea. So if you look at whatever your retirement funds are now, you take the magic number, I'll put them back again, right? And then you divide your funds, well, but then it depends on the age. You divide it by that number, you'll kind of get a sense as to what your pension would be per month. And what you might see is that it's something lower than you would like, right? I can't do it for everybody now, but I really encourage you to go and try. And then what we can do also on the reverse is we can kind of determine the retirement funds that we would need to get the pension that we want, right? And this is now where, this is what this whole kind of discussion is about. So there we had 6,000, how much was it? 6,300 per month, okay? Let's say the same lady, 65-year-old, wanted 17,000 per month. Does it seem like a jump? Like, how can you go from 6 to 17? So let me tell you how I chose 17. Under normal circumstances, a person who gets a pension of 6,000 with the NRR means they would have been getting a salary of around 15,000, right? So if they said, I'm going to have an NRR higher than 100%, there was a lot of discussion today about aiming for 60 to 70. And I'm thinking, why not go above 100? Why not develop, I mean, think about retiring into a promotion in life. There's something about that that really resonates well with me, where you say, I was earning a certain amount, I retired, and now I earn more. And I like that, and that's why I chose this 17,000. What this lady would do, she'll take the 17,000 and multiply it by her magic number, right? And then get 2.6 million. Now what you've noticed, so what this is basically saying is 2.6 million is what is required to give her the pension of 17,000. But what we saw was she had 1 million that gave her 6. Now, the thing is, she's actually, I should have said this probably in the beginning, she's actually not 65, she's younger, maybe she's 55, but she's projecting to 65, right? And what I'm trying to say is there's a gap of 1.6 million between what she wants and what she's heading for. Does that make sense? And in the 10 years, okay, so now I said she's 55. So in the 10 years, she needs to kind of fill the gap of 1.6 million so that she can retire into the life that she wants. Now I want to ask you guys a question just for a second. If right now or tomorrow or Monday, you could earn a pension that is equal to your salary, how many of you would still be working? No boss, no email, no nothing, but the same salary. Now I know, so a lot of people say that they'll retire, they'll get the pension, and then they'll go back to work, which I think is pretty funny. But my point is, what I want from everybody here today is to think about, right now, if our average is 35% in Botswana, it means if you do not contribute to your pension fund, you are likely going to get the average NRR in your situation? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things that can change between now and the time you retire, but it means you're on your way to 35% if you do nothing, right? And if you don't want that 35%, then you have years between now and the time you retire to actually do something about it. So in this case, it's how do you fund that 1.6 million over 10 years? There are many ways I could answer this, but the one I want to get into is the biggest reason that we have low net replacement ratios is just because we're not contributing for ourselves. That is the number one reason. Like, so many people are contributing zero for themselves and they're leaving the responsibility on the employer or on the government, but not on themselves. And if I share some numbers with you, if you are 10 years away from retiring, it's almost a 1-to-1 ratio between how much you save and how much you will get in a pension. For example, if you're retiring in 10 years' time and you save 1,000 per month, that is likely going to be close to 1,000 extra in your pension. If you put away 2,000 a month, it's likely going to be 2,000 in your pension. If you're 20 years from retiring, then it almost doubles. If you're 30 years from retiring, it almost triples. So the other message is, it's very important that we teach, especially the younger employees, that the earlier they save for retirement, the better the chance they have, more than anybody, to have really good retirement or pension when they retire, okay? So anyway, in closing, we need to identify what is the gap between what we want and what is going to be the default. And in finding that gap, let's go and visit some of our service providers who are licensed and experienced enough to tell you how you can fund that gap. And it may require a change in behavior. This is learning how to save, because we're not a saving nation. So this culture of consumerism really came from America. And you saw America and Great Britain, those ones, they're no better than we are. Too much spending, too little saving. If we can change that culture and just think about it, then we can retire happy. I mean, sorry guys, I'm just gonna go back to it. If I can retire earning more than working, it's like you're promoting yourself more than what anybody has ever done for you at work. And this is the concept of living by design and not default. Design kind of that path you want to take to retire happy and retire like smiling, rather than arriving at retirement's door and wishing, I really wish I could have saved more. And okay, I know I said in closing, but I really mean in closing now. In my experience, guys, I deal with so many clients that wished they knew that if they had gone back in time and saved a little bit more, their retirement proceeds would be much better. And it's really painful because you can't do anything for them. You can't go back in time. You can't give them money. You could, but you can't. And they just have to live out the rest of their life in that situation. So let us be happy, or let us be happy in the knowledge that we actually have time to do something about it. And as trustees, we can go back to our members and share this information as well, right? So that we don't kind of get the default situation. We can create something that works for us.